Hey, and welcome to A Game for Your Thoughts. Today we're talking about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is a game from Software, and it was met with huge acclaim and it even won Game of the Year at the Game Awards. The story of Sekiro Shadows Die Twice is pretty straightforward. It follows a shinobi named Wolf, or Sekiro, as he makes his way across the land of Ashina to save his young master named Kudo. As a man named Genichiro is looking for Kudo, as Kudo has the power of the dragon's heritage, which lets people live as immortals and not have to worry about death. Very early on, Sekiro tries to stop Genichiro from taking Kudo, but Sekiro loses the fight and loses his left arm in the battle and his life. But from the dragon's heritage, he comes back to life, and he gains a shinobi prosthetic, which is an alternate version of his left arm, which also acts as a new tool that he can use to take down Genichiro. With the shinobi prosthetic, Sekiro must make his way across the scene, save Kudo, and stop Genichiro from making his plans come into fruition. The plot of this game was pretty straightforward. It wasn't anything new or revolutionary, but it did a great job of getting me from start to finish, and that's really all it needed to do. The idea of the Dragon Heritage was a really great idea, and I really liked it, and they also integrated it into the gameplay in a really awesome way that made this really elevate the story and kind of show its importance in the story itself. One thing that was kind of a bummer is the characters themselves aren't too terribly memorable. None of them really have any big moments that shine. Nothing ever really that crazy happens to any of these characters that make them change. Really, the only main character that has much development is the character of Kudo. And it was really kind of a bummer because some of these characters had some really awesome designs and were really cool characters themselves, but just nothing really ever happened with them, and that was kind of a bummer that I would have liked to see some change in the characters themselves. This was kind of a bummer because a lot of these characters have some really memorable things about them. There are some really cool characters out there. For example, early on you meet this guy, and he's this warrior who can't die, and he becomes kind of your training dummy because he can't die at all. So things like that were really, really cool, and there was a lot of cool characters like this, but yet again, none of them ever really change or develop, but there was a lot of cool characteristics about the specific characters themselves, even the main ones. Just a lot of the side characters happen to be a little bit more interesting than a lot of the main characters were. A few more things about the story. This game was very cinematic. There was lots of very cinematic moments and experiences that you go through in this game that are really, really cool moments that are really rad. And this is also helped by the graphics, as the graphics are very gorgeous, but I'll talk a little bit more about those later. One thing I really appreciate about this game that a lot of other games don't really have is its specific goal. It has a main goal in mind, and you're always looking towards achieving that goal, and it's a pretty simple goal. It never gets too complex. And about halfway through the game, the goal changes, but I still felt inspired to go and obtain the goal. It was kind of always my main point. Even though a lot of the gameplay stuff and things that are going on are kind of distracting, I always kept that main goal in mind, which was really awesome and just had something for me to look forward to. But for the story, I really enjoyed it in the end. It was pretty rad. The characters, not too terribly important, not too terribly memorable, but they had a lot of really cool characteristics and really cool designs. I liked the idea of the Dragon Heritage, and it worked its way into the story and the gameplay. And I also really appreciated how this goal kind of had a main goal in mind, and it felt really rewarding when I achieved that main goal. So with the story aside, let's talk about the gameplay. And I'm sure you know exactly how this gameplay is going to go. You know where this is going. Come on. You know what I'm going to say. So, the gameplay of Sekiro, super simple, and it's so fun and so easy. The gameplay of Sekiro, piece of cake. It was so boring after a moment because it was, I can't. This game was hard. This game was really, really hard, but it was really rewarding. I'm going to talk about that. Sekiro Shadow Die Twice is the prime example of very easy to learn, but very, 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 very difficult to master. This game has a very simple premise and idea, but mastering these premises and these ideas is far more difficult than it sounds. But once you get it down, once you get down and break it to its core basics and understand those basics and know how it works and just really get the feel for it, this gameplay is so rewarding and it feels so great to have these awesome moments where I just feel in total control of the fights. You start out the game and the gameplay has the basic tutorials and it seems really straightforward. It's like, alright, you have a block attack, you have a slashing attack, and you also have a dodge. And these moves are super straightforward because that's pretty much all you have at your disposal. Or at least really early on. Later you can get these new abilities and things like that that make things a little bit easier, but for the most part and pretty much throughout the rest of the game, you have your block, attack, and your dodge. And finding the best way to use these against your enemies is the key to success. And you have to use these abilities to fight smaller military soldiers or the game's many very difficult and very intense boss fights. Every enemy and the character themselves has two meters. There's a health meter or vitality, or your posture meter, and your goal is to take down the enemy's posture or vitality, whichever one comes first. Sometimes it goes kind of hand in hand. You have to take down their health to take down their vitality, take down their health to take down their posture. There we go. Or just take down their health in general, or just break their posture, whichever kind of depends. And I like this as it kind of changed the way you approached each different boss fight. As some were just straight posture, you focus mostly on blocks and timing your blocks correctly. And other ones, you were just straight attacking, trying to break down that health or posture as quick as you can. And sometimes it just didn't really work like that. And you had to take down their health to deal with their posture. And that was really intense. Those fights were always a little bit more methodical and definitely a little bit more difficult. But it was a great way to kind of implement the boss fights to make you really focus on the moment and go in with a tactic for each fight. And once you break down their health or posture, you get the ability to take them out with a death blow. The very basic like minor soldier enemies only take one death blow. They're not too terribly difficult. But once you get into the more intense boss fights, they take several death blows. So you have to work your way through a few posture meters or a few health bars. And it's really nice as it kind of just adds a sense of difficulty and kind of a little bit more of an urgency because you have to work your way through so many attacks and death blows. And it was a really great system that just made these boss fights seem a little bit more above the normal fights, as they still kind of had the same basic ideas, but they were just elevated to the next level. But all this, there's a lot going on in the combat, but it is so much easier said than done. Dealing with the combat situations, especially in the tutorial, seem pretty straightforward. You get a good feel of the controls and everything like that, and you're fighting on a few small soldiers, and the first few like boss fights are pretty easy, but it's just kind of helping you get a feel of the controls and how everything works. And by the way, I really appreciate the PlayStation 4 controller because of its small, comfortable size, and also the L1 and R buttons, which you use for blocking and attacking, are nice, small, and super convenient. So thanks, PlayStation! But very soon after the tutorial sections, you're going to have to put your skills to the test and fight these boss fights. And this is when it really tests your patience and your skill level. Using your blocks, your attacks, and your dodges to get out of the way or attack the enemy at just the right moments is your key to success. But this isn't always as easy because the bosses are very extravagant and large. So you have to watch their movements and you have to recognize certain patterns of certain attacks and when your moments to attack are. And I really appreciated this as it made each boss fight very different from each other, and they were all intense, but they all used the basic ideas and same mechanics. And it was really interesting as it made you go into each boss fight with a different mentality. But recognizing these patterns, using your skills, and lots of luck, you can take these bosses down, and it's so rewarding. And lots of these bosses have several death blows, so you're going to have to go through different phases. And after each death blow, they like to mix things up, throw in some new attacks, different patterns, different animations, things like that that really keep you on your toes, that you're going to have to really watch your opponents and see how you can adapt and learn in the situation. And it made it really intense. And I really appreciated this change as it made each phase different. It wasn't ever really much of the same. While there are a lot of the same ideas, they change it enough that it keeps you kind of guessing what could be next, and also makes you really analyze the situation you're in and adapt using the same three simple abilities of block, dodge, and attack. The first time I played this game back when it first came out, I really learned a lesson in patience and appreciation for the game's mechanics and the game's design. It was really, really well done. That first time through, it was so painful. I was not very patient. I didn't really learn. I didn't adapt. I was just trying to force my way through it. And I struggled with this game. It was a really hard game to make my way through just because I struggled so hard with a lot of the basic mechanics. And I just wasn't patient myself. But over the last few months, I've really trained myself to become better at the game. I trained, I focused, and I became one with the controller, one with the game. I was able to let my hands just know what to do. My eyes caught every little animation, every little movement that I needed to succeed. And it was so rewarding. I felt just like in Zen. I was like in the zone. I was able to just really focus on the game and use those basic mechanics to my advantage. And it was really, really nice and really rewarding. So I'd be in these Zen modes. It would be so amazing. I'd be like doing everything I needed to do. I blocked when I needed to. I attacked when I needed to. Got out of the way when I needed to. I used my tools when I needed to. And it just felt so rewarding. It was so fluid and fresh. Then I died and frickin' chucked my controller at the ground because I frickin' hate this game. Just kidding, I don't think I ever broke a single controller in this game, but it was really frustrating. But it felt rewarding when I finally was able to get over this learning curve. Like I said, I'd focused, I trained, and I did everything I could to be the best I could at this game, and it just really paid off. This was one of the most rewarding, if not the most rewarding combat system I've ever experienced in gaming. The way I had to study each enemy and learn everything about them, and then the way I played the techniques, and then when I finally defeated those bosses that I'd been working at for the longest time, it felt so good. It just, like, morally, it felt rewarding. Game-wise, you got like little things like XP and items and just the ability to advance through the game. But for myself personally, I just felt really good. I felt like my hard work had paid off. I hate it when I play games when I'm like, that was so difficult, but I didn't feel like it was worth it. But in Sekiro, it was so worth it. The feeling I got inside when I was in the middle of a tense fight and I managed to pull it off and I got that final death blow, I was able to just like take a sigh of relief. But I just felt so good inside. It was so rewarding, and that's what I loved the most about this game, is that feeling of sensation of reward and awesomeness, and that my hard work had paid off. I yearned to play Sekiro all the time because I wanted that feeling of accomplishment and success. It just was so rewarding and it became addicting. It made me want to keep coming back to this game because I wanted to feel that sense of accomplishment. It just made me feel really good about myself anytime I played. Outside of the main boss fights and small enemy encounters, you also have optional stealth sections, which include most of the small enemy encounters. You're able to make your way through a large courtyard, and you can use your tools and exploration abilities to make your way around, and also stealth blows to make your way through all these groups of enemies, even trying to thin their herd a little bit to make your encounters with these smaller enemies a little bit easier. I really appreciated these sections as they were really exciting and also made me feel really cool when I would jump from the shadows and take this guy out with one blow. It felt really good, and it was also a fun kind of change of pace that I was still taking out enemies and progressing through the game, but it was also kind of a cool, slower, methodical pace that still felt really rewarding in the end. So I've talked about the combat and kind of the basic general fighting mechanics. But I said earlier that the Dragon's Heritage story element plays its way into the gameplay. And this is what's really kind of makes it more of like a Souls game, is the ability to kind of come back after you died. So in Sekiro, when you die, you have the ability to come back to life right away from a fight. So you can be fighting somebody and then they'll take you out, and then you can come back and kind of catch them off guard. Sometimes you actually can totally catch them off guard and get an awesome hit off of them. But a lot of the times, these abilities kind of give you some room for error, and I really appreciated that slight room for error. But this awesome system certainly didn't come without its punishments. You can't just die over and over and over again. You have some punishments that come along with it in the form of Dragon Rot, and also the Unseen Aid. Thank goodness for Buddha, as he gives you your health and XP and your money back if you die. So usually when you die, you take half of your XP and money, but Buddha grants you Unseen Aid and you don't lose anything. But as the more you die and the more you're brought back, people around the world, NPCs you meet, get this Dragon Rot, which decreases your chances of Unseen Aid and also have some other factors that count in. So you really got to watch how many times you die and also just make sure you're not dying to avoid that. Well, there is a point when you can come up with a cure for it. That doesn't happen until later on. So early on, you really got to watch it. I really liked this system as it felt like I was able to make some mistakes, but also those mistakes didn't come without errors. It was like I was able to make a mistake, but they gave me like a little slap on the wrist and it was like, hey, watch it. Outside of combat, there's exploration and leveling up. The exploration is actually pretty awesome. It covers a lot of the game in between the fights, and it was really nice as it just was a cool change of pace. It wasn't super exciting, but also it still felt pretty fun to just move around the world. And you also have your Shinobi prosthetic, which has a cool grappling hook on it, so you can grapple up to ledges and grab faraway things. And this was also really nice because if you kind of went off the beaten path and found hidden caves and stuff, you were rewarded with items that would help you in battle kind of towards the tide towards you. And these were really rewarding, and it made the exploration really fun. Like I said, it was a cool change and also ended up rewarding you in great ways. And like most RPG-ish games, this game has a skill tree and leveling system. As you kill enemies or take things out, you get XP, and you use these XP to get skill points. And using your skill points, you can unlock new moves, new abilities, and things like that that can kind of help push the gameplay more in your favor. And I really like this system. It was just pretty straightforward. None of the abilities ever felt too overpowered, but also gave some great variety in the way I kind of approached different situations. And I really appreciated the XP system. Like I said, when you die, you lose half of your XP, so it really made you be really cautious of how much XP you had going into fights because you didn't want to get all this XP and then die and then lose it all. It was a great system that made you really kind of keep an eye on where you were at before you went into fights or things like that. The graphics of this game look really, really good. There's lots of moments that are really amazing and some are really stunning, especially moments with the big snake and things like that were really, really cool. There's a lot of really epic fights that were really helped by the graphics or the cinematography going on around you. It was really nice and just added an extra level of awesomeness to this already awesome game. Running around the world, I never really had any problems. I was playing just on my basic PS4, and technically I didn't really have a whole lot of frame rate drops. If I had like a lot going on screen, yeah, it would slow down a little bit, but nothing too crazy that really affected the gameplay, which made it nice because if I died, it was most of the time my fault and very rarely the system's fault. Very, very rarely I would have moments where the AI would spaz out a little. Very rarely did this happen. When it did, it just ruined the presentation a little bit and didn't really ruin the gameplay all that much. So I really appreciated the lack of technical issues in the game. In the end, Sekiro was a very difficult but very rewarding experience. I loved my time with Sekiro and I'd definitely start it right back up in a heartbeat. It was so well put together, the gameplay was very, very difficult but very rewarding. So I highly encourage you to just sit down, be patient with it, and take your time. If you're having a hard time with it, try it again. I didn't want to play this game ever again after that first time. I was like, this is too hard. But then I talked to a lot of people and they gave me some tips and tricks and they did really encourage me to just try again. So I tried again. I was patient. I was positive with myself, and it just really helped make the experience so great. And once you get this combat system down, once you get over that learning curve, this game is amazing. It is an awesome experience from start to finish. The story was really great and I had a great goal in mind that kept me working towards that goal. The exploration was fun and rewarding when I went out and did it. And then the cinematic experience itself was really great with the amazing graphics, and the lack of technical issues made this game seem really polished. You can definitely tell a lot of heart and passion went into this game, and I think it absolutely deserves all the praise this game has gotten. So, in the end, I would highly recommend you check out Sekiro. If you're looking for a really difficult game, if you like the Soul-Styles game, and it's actually, I would say it's probably a little bit easier than Dark Souls or Bloodborne. So if you play Dark Souls and Bloodborne, you're like, oh, I can't handle it. I thought Sekiro was actually a little bit easier. So, maybe try it out. Check it out. See what you think. I think at least just try this game out. If it's not your thing, that's just fine. Nothing wrong with that. At least just give it a shot. Stick with it. Be patient with yourself. It's a great kind of test of your moral stability, I guess. But it just feels really rewarding. Like I said, that a sense of accomplishment just made this whole experience just so amazing. So, in the end, I highly recommend you check out Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. Thanks for checking out my review on Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I hope you enjoyed this game as much as I did. And if you did, what was your favorite boss fight? What made you feel the most accomplished? What boss fight was just so grueling and punishing? For me, it was the owl fight. That one took me forever. I streamed it once and it was so difficult and it was so fun. But once I finally beat it, I just felt so good. It was so great. So, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you saw, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video. That would be awesome. And thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. If you want to check out more of my stuff, I'll put a little playlist here at the end. And like I said, hit that subscribe button. That'll be down here at the end. So, thank you so much for watching A Game for Your Thoughts, and we'll catch you guys next time.